Hello and welcome to another episode of Marketing for Your Future. I'm your host, Cindy Ashton from the Daily Ad Brief, coming to you from New York City and coming all the way from San Francisco, California. We have Jeff Rosenblum from Questus, and he is going to really enlighten us on everything to do with really getting your brand out to the world. Hello, Jeff, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Cindy. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about Questus.
Yeah, Questus in its simplest form is a digital advertising agency. More specifically, we specialize in advertising for the modern consumer journey. And what we mean by that is purchases are fairly complex and people go on a journey. And often those journeys last for hours, they're stretched over months. And the advertising industry has been broken for decades and decades. For the most part, most companies just try to buy some big interruptions, maybe on TV or increasingly on digital. And those interruptions work to a certain extent, but we think we're asking them to do too much. And what we specialize in is figuring out all of the information, both emotional and functional, that people need at every granular step along their purchase journey.
Jeff, that's really quite brilliant because it's true. If we're constantly getting interrupted, but there's no real connection to us on a deeper human spirit or on an emotional level, it's just not going to move it along. So when you were working with your clients, what is one of the things that people are really missing when it does come to really creating an emotional connection to move people along on that journey?
Totally. I'll actually pivot that answer quite a bit and say one of the biggest things that's actually missing is functional content along that journey. I think the advertising industry, they invest too much. We all invest too much in emotions. Emotions are obviously extraordinarily important, and you actually can't communicate to the human brain very effectively without some emotions tied into your story. The issue is everyone's trying to make people laugh or cry. Everyone's trying to do some sort of iteration on flow from progressive, which is just really basically annoying. And in a lot of ways, what we need to do is provide functional information, which is what makes your company different than the competition? What makes your company better than the competition? Why should people invest their hard-earned dollars in time, in recommendations, in your product and in your brand? So yeah, we do want to be emotional, but we also need to bring value in very specific functional content.
Jeff, I really love that you're talking about that because when it does come to the emotional connection, if there's no context for that and that functional piece that you're talking about, you're right, it doesn't move anything along. So when you're looking at that differentiation and really standing out, that unique point of view, where do you start with your clients to really help them to see how they are different?
I think what brands need to do first and foremost is look internally and understand their own culture and understand their own behaviors and understand what's in their own heart before they can start looking externally. But the issue is a lot of brands, they only look either external or internal. And I think one of the most damaging things that we've done as an industry is we've all followed this Simon Sinek concept of start with why. And there's nothing fundamentally wrong with start with why. But when you start with why, and that's the end of the entire strategic discussion, that's when you find yourself in a lot of trouble. And most brands are actually doing that. They start with why, and then their why becomes a bit of a campaign tagline, or something that you see in digital in a pre-roll, or something that you see in TV in a 30-second spot. And nobody really gives a crap about your why if you're not investing in something meaningful. So I think the real big question people need to ask is, what's your how? Right? It's one thing to have your why, which is something that's important to you, but how are you going to invest in it? And how are you going to bring real meaning to the concept of why?
Jeff, I really love that you've made that connection because I agree with you. It's great to know the why, but then there's nowhere else to go from there. And the fact that you've really created this entire consumer journey, the way that you have is super high impact. It is fantastic. Thank you so much for delivering such great insights to our audience today.
Thanks for having me on, Cindy. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And for those of you watching, thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of Marketing for Your Future. If you would like to connect with Jeff, please go to dailyadbrief.com and we will see you on another episode very soon.
Simplify presents Addressable CTV, combining the power of TV with the targeting and attribution of digital. Simplify's Addressable CTV delivers massive reach with the ability to scale without sacrificing precision. TV buyers can generate incremental reach with household-level targeting, frequency controls, reporting, and insights. To learn more about Simplify's Addressable CTV and what it can do for your clients, visit simply.fi.